Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another day in Women's Entrepreneurship Week, where we're highlighting a different women entrepreneur each day. My name is Erica Johnsrud, and I'm a senior marketing student in the College of Business. Today, I'm looking forward to visiting and learning from Christine Nessler. Christine is a successful entrepreneur and experienced public relations manager with over 20 years of experience as a writer, website manager, and relationship builder. For 6 years, she was the co-owner of Freedom Home Care LLC, but she left that in 2020 to pursue an exciting business venture where she is currently a franchise owner of DonutNV Mankato. So welcome, Christine, and thanks for joining me today to share your insights.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So my first question I like to ask is, have you always known that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or was it just kind of something that came up over time?
Actually, no, I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. My husband, Andy, who's my partner in DonutNV, he actually is probably the one with the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm the one who I would say just has a lot of strengths to be able to take a business and run with it, to take an idea and run with it. So we kind of team up where he's the idea guy, and then I'm the person that comes in, and I like to build relationships and collaborate and develop. And so my strengths and his strengths kind of work together in these ventures.
Well, that balances out really nicely. He's kind of the big idea person and kind of
Yep.
sees the big picture, and then you can actually make it happen. So that's a good dynamic. So I saw on your LinkedIn that for 6 years you were the co-owner of Freedom Home Care LLC, and that provides non-medical home care and case management services to people in southern Minnesota. And I know it's a very different field from where you are right now,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there was still a lot of overlap in experiences that prepared you for the food truck industry, but more so the entrepreneurial side. So did you
Oh,
see
yeah.
overlap?
Absolutely, Erica. I think that truly any business experience is good experience, right? Because it all transfers no matter what sort of service or goods that you're selling. And I would even go so far as to say, don't discount the experience of even some of your first jobs. An example I'll give you is that when I was in high school and college, I actually worked as a certified nurse aide. Now, with my degree in mass comm and public relations, I really didn't see how that was, probably going to help me too much or build up my resume at the time. But then, I opened up Freedom Home Care with our partner, Chris Meem, and here all of those skills, those things that I learned about empathy and compassion, those transferred to Freedom Home Care. Being able to understand and relate to clients, client family members, and even the caregivers that were the ones out in the homes giving those one-on-one personal cares was very important. So all of those skills transferred, and I think you just have to be open to using those experiences to your advantage.
Wow, that's such good advice. I think it's really common that our first jobs, maybe out of school or while we're in school, are not what we want to do down the road. But that's a perfect example of how it's preparing you for what you're eventually going to get to start in the future. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So in January of this year is when you opened up DonutNV, is that correct?
Yep, that's when
Um,
we kind of got the ball rolling.
well, so tell us about how that got started. It's part of a franchise. How did you get connected with them?
Yeah, well, it's actually very interesting. My husband did a lot of the research and he found what's called a franchise broker. And what this person does, it really helps you to determine what would be a good fit for what you're looking for, and then also even for your community. Because, in a community the size of Mankato, not every franchise is interested in coming to a smaller community. It's funny for me to say smaller community because I'm from a town of 250 people, and Mankato seems pretty big to me. But in the
Me
franchise
too.
world, yeah, in the franchise world, our size can be a little bit limiting. So we worked with this franchise broker and we really dove in and we investigated 4 different franchises with very different models and services and goods. And we landed on DonutNV because we really felt like it kind of checked all the boxes for us. So we were looking for something that had low labor because that's something that's really affecting many businesses. We also wanted to make sure there was potential for success in Mankato, as I mentioned, potential for growth. And then we wanted something that we could get our kids involved with. So we have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old. You know, there are child labor laws, so that 10-year-old didn't do a whole lot besides, you know, doing some promotion on social media, but it was something that we could all do together. And then lastly, we just were excited about bringing something fun to a community that we just love. So that's how we landed on DonutNV as a franchise.
Wow, that's so interesting because you found something that worked for your family and for what you guys were looking forward to do, but then also Mankato had kind of a opening spot for that, and you guys are getting into that. My next question is, as a food truck in Minnesota, I'm sure you're so aware of the challenges that can bring. I mean, there's way less events in the winter. How are how is that affecting your food truck
Well, I
season?
would say, you know, for many businesses, there's a slow season and there's a busy season. And so I think really, you know, you have to make hay while the sun shines, right? So during those slower times, you're planning ahead, you're doing some of that business development, you're focusing on growth, and then that gives you the opportunity to be ready for the busy times, but also taking advantage of the time that's a little bit slower. So as I mentioned before we even got on, I'm a planner, and so I see that as an opportunity to plan for the future.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think it gives you more time to be more thoughtful about what you want to do in the future. Um, I had another question, and a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the food industry, and coming out of the pandemic, maybe they had to have less people working, and so they ended up working themselves. And then there's kind of a struggle of you're working in your business, but you also want to work on your business at the same time so that you can grow. How do you kind of balance that and uh, combat that challenge?
You know, I think there's a couple things there. As an entrepreneur or a business owner, you find out pretty quickly that it's not a 9 to 5 job, right? So you're probably doing a lot of those business development sort of things in between the times that you're actually working in the business. So just finding that balance of being able to fit that piece in is important. But I also think too, having the right team in place is so important because you really need to have people that you trust on your team that you can say, okay, here you go, guys. I need you to take care of this while I'm handling this. And with DonutNV, we've been so fortunate to have Tyson Dull as our manager, our general manager, because there's many events where he just takes it and runs with it. And then we're able to work on things on the other side. Now, I'm definitely still slinging donuts. I'm doing an afternoon event today, which is really fun to be out there in front of the customers. But there's that balance.
That's cool. And I'm sure you really do love to be hands-on and in it with your other coworkers. So that's cool. I wanted to ask how, I mean, the industry is always changing, the food industry. How do you stay up to date on any kinds of new innovations or changes? Because you're part of a franchise, but you also maybe have some room to be unique as you're the Mankato spot.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is with DonutNV, with still being pretty new, we are relying a little more heavily on some of that franchise advice or direction. But as an example of really how to stay on top of that, I'm going to give you a Freedom Home Care example, because I feel like we did a great job in that realm. So I'm going to go take a step back. What we did with Freedom Home Care is we really were very good about going to different conferences. You know, in the industry, we got involved with different industry groups so we could stay on top of different trends. But then also just even relationship building. It is so important, being able to get to know your partners in the industry, but even your competitors in the industry, because you're all trying to work together to provide the best services. Maybe that's a fault of mine, that I like to collaborate with everybody and, you know, hope for the best, that nobody would take advantage of me. But truly, I just feel like working together, you're able to stay on top of those things, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Well, and that kind of leads into another question I wanted to ask you just about partnerships. A lot of times, like food trucks, if there's one food truck, there's another one right by it. A lot of times they collaborate. Are there any partnerships that you're excited about in Mankato, or um, any kinds of things that you're working on?
I really do feel like, and this goes back to even knowing your competitors, right? I really feel like that relationship building is such a huge piece. And you'll find in a lot of different business scenarios, you'll have referral partners, right? So maybe I can't do an event, but I know, or that I want to make sure that the tropical ice business has an opportunity. So I might throw that name out because I've gotten to them. Or maybe I'm not the right fit because I'm a dessert, but I should tell them about the Pelican because they can do some meals. So there's different opportunities like that. I would say, you know, even with Freedom Home Care, what we did is we facilitated a couple different things. I had my little buddy group of referral partners, and we did a lot of events together. So we were kind of the home care crew. We had home care, home health care, which is different, and hospice, where we all three partnered up on various events and different things, and we all referred to each other. So building those relationships was key. And then also having, we facilitated what was called a senior provider network. And so that included, you know, assisted livings and hospital partners and social workers and memory care. It included everybody in that aging adult care realm. And we were able to, you know, get to know each other, build that trust, build those relationships, but also stay on top of some of those trends that we were talking about. But those sorts of opportunities really allow you to build trust. And I think that is so, so huge. Relationships are everything. And I know I've talked a lot about that, but you want to be the kind of business that people can trust and people can rely on. If you say you're going to do something, if you commit to doing something, you need to be the kind of person or business that follows through. Otherwise, you know, why are people going to come back to you for your goods or services, right? And I think a piece of that too is communication. So maybe you're even feeling like you're over communicating, but you're not. It's always better to communicate more instead of less, being clear, and making sure everybody's on the same page. And then just one final comment on that. I had a college professor at MSU, Ellen Merja, years ago in public relations, who told us that we should never underestimate the power of a handwritten note. And I still believe that to my core, especially in this age where everything is digital. But just truly taking the time for those extra little thoughtful pieces can be a big part of relationship building and business growth.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't remember the last time I got a letter, so that's actually really, I think it would make a really big impact on someone if they get a handwritten note. That's really good advice just in general. I can tell from all your many years of experience that you are pulling from that it's communication and consistency that really is the key. So thank you for that advice.
Yeah.
Um, Are there any other things you want to share about DonutNV? Maybe things you're working on, upcoming events or anything like that?
You know, we're getting to that season where we have a very busy October, and then at the end of October, things kind of taper off with the cold. So we'll be coming up on that time of the year where we'll be planning for what's next.
Well, I'm sure you guys have had such a busy year starting and opening up in January. I'm sure you're looking forward to having some time to reflect and kind of see what the next year is going to look like. So, congratulations on the new business.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And Erica, if you don't mind, if I just gave like one last little blurb to all
Yes.
of you women out there, I would just really say in any business that you choose, find your passion because you're going to be working really hard. And if you're not passionate about it, that's going to be a challenge. And then two, you want to lead from a place of authenticity. You want to lead in a way that makes other people want to follow you as the leader of your business. So knowing your strengths, knowing your values and sticking to them, it's just so important in whatever you do.
Oh, well, thank you for that advice. I've really enjoyed this opportunity to talk to successful role models of women entrepreneurs. So thank you for your advice and thanks for helping me celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Week, Christine.
Well, thank you so much, Erica. I enjoyed this opportunity.
Great, thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.